All right, so we're diving into the news about Sean Diddy Combs, and wow, there's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah, it's a wild one.
It's more than just a news story, right? It's like this whole intersection of music, celebrity, and some really serious allegations.
Absolutely.
And what's got people talking even more are these stories, these almost legendary stories about Diddy's parties.
Right, right.
We actually came across some comments from Nick Cannon on The Breakfast Club, actually,
Yeah.
talking about these parties. And he said getting into one of these was like something out of Biggie's One More Chance video.
Oh, wow, okay.
Massive crowds, everyone trying to get in. But then Cannon says something interesting. He's like, I got nothing to hide.
Hmm.
It almost makes you think, like, wait, is he implying that others might?
It's a loaded statement, that's for sure. And you can't separate it from who's saying it, right? This is Nick Cannon. We're not talking about just someone who happened to be at a party. This is someone who's been in the industry forever.
Right, right.
Child star, rapper, TV host, you name it. He knows this world inside and out.
He's seen it all.
Exactly. So when he says something like that, it makes you wonder, what's he really saying? What's his angle?
Yeah, what's he seen?
Exactly.
And that perspective, that history, it becomes even more important when we look at the actual allegations against Diddy.
Right.
I mean, we're talking sex trafficking, racketeering. This isn't just a party gone wrong.
No, this is serious stuff.
This is about Diddy allegedly running a criminal enterprise. It makes you wonder how those two sides of the story, the parties and these charges, how do they even exist in the same, how do they...
It is a jarring contrast.
What is?
And just to be clear, because this is important,
Yeah.
these are still allegations, right?
Yeah.
Diddy has pleaded not guilty. The trial's still pending.
Right.
But even with that being said, we have to take the weight of what these charges actually mean seriously.
Yeah.
When we hear racketeering, maybe we think Goodfellas, something like that. But at its core, it means running an organized criminal operation.
Right.
And in this case, the prosecution, they're claiming that Diddy used his businesses, not just music, not just fashion, all of it, as a front for this alleged enterprise.
Wow.
And then the sex trafficking charges, they're woven into that, right?
Mm-hmm.
The allegation is that women were exploited as part of this bigger operation. It's complex, it's messy, and this trial, it's set to start May 5th. But who knows how long it'll actually go on.
It's almost like trying to picture these two totally different things at the same time, you know?
Mm-hmm.
On the one hand, you've got these legendary parties, almost mythical in hip-hop history.
Right.
And on the other hand, these incredibly dark accusations.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what was really going on beneath the surface.
It really does make you question everything, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like everything you thought you knew about these events, about the people involved.
And especially when you hear things like that quote from Diddy's lawyer just saying, he's doing fine. I mean, I get it, legally speaking, probably standard, but
Yeah.
given what he's being accused of, it's kind of a tough look, you know?
It does make you think about the power dynamics at play here.
For sure.
Like how someone in Diddy's position might react to these kinds of accusations, how their perception might be shaped by that power and influence.
Right, and it also makes you think about that other quote we have where it's alleged that Diddy and his employees used intimidation, threats, and lures to control women.
That's disturbing.
It is, and if it's true, it paints a very different picture of those parties, right?
Absolutely. It raises serious questions about consent, about exploitation, and these aren't issues confined to the music industry, are they?
No, not at all.
We see this in Hollywood and all sorts of industries, really anywhere you have these power imbalances.
Exactly. This case, it's like it's tapping into this much bigger conversation we're having as a society about accountability, about how we treat each other, regardless of someone's status or their accomplishments.
It's a conversation we need to be having.
And it makes you think about Nick Cannon's comments in a different light too, right? Especially when he talks about being at these parties, Harlem shaking, doing all of that stuff. But then he kind of stops and says, but it wasn't Come On Now. What do you make of that?
It's like he's wrestling with his own memories, trying to reconcile what he experienced with what we know now.
Right.
And I think a lot of us can relate to that feeling. We look back at the past through the lens of the present, and sometimes it's hard to make sense of it all.
Absolutely.
We wonder if there were signs we missed, or if we're being too hard on the past based on what we understand now.
It makes you question your own memories, doesn't it? Like, how much of what we remember is shaped by what we choose to see, both then and now. So where do we even go from here? I mean, we've got this trial coming up, all these questions about fame, power, what we choose to remember. It's a lot.
It really is. And honestly, I think no matter what happens with the trial, There are some big takeaways here for all of us.
Yeah, like what do you think are the most important things to remember from all of this?
Well, first of all, it shows how important it is to think critically. You know,
Mm.
we can't just accept things at face value, especially when it comes to people in power or these stories we tell ourselves about a past.
It's easy to get caught up in the narrative, right?
Exactly. We need to be willing to question things, look at different sides, and be open to the idea that the truth might not be comfortable,
And sometimes the truth is even more complicated than we want it to be.
for sure. And then the second thing, it just emphasizes how crucial this conversation about accountability is. Are we, as a society, doing enough to make sure people feel safe to speak out about abuse?
Yeah, and are we holding those in power responsible for their actions, even if they're famous or successful?
Exactly. Those are questions we have to keep asking ourselves.
It's like this whole system we have to examine, right? Not just in music, but everywhere.
Absolutely. And it all leads to that final question, the one I think everyone's struggling with. If these allegations against Diddy are true, can we or should we still separate the art from the artist?
Can we enjoy the music knowing what we know? Man, that's a tough one.
It is.
Mm.
And honestly, there's no easy answer. It's something everyone has to decide for themselves.
This whole deep dive, it's been a wild ride. We started with these legendary parties, then these serious accusations, and now we're questioning everything we thought we knew about success and power.
And memory, don't forget memory.
Right, right. We might not have all the answers, but this case has definitely given us a lot to think about.